What's going on, y'all? I'm back with my 2.0 video from last week. We talked about nutrition, we talked about how to eat to be lean and all that good stuff. We're gonna keep it going, keep the momentum moving. A lot of stuff here on the table. You're probably wondering why I got all these different things out here. I got food out here, I got a blackjack table, I got chips, I got all kind of stuff. I'm gonna go through it, I'm gonna walk through it. I got my Thunder Orange today, my boys. Thunder Pride, okay. Palmdale Park and Rec had a great game today. They wear Thunder Orange. I support them wearing my Thunder Orange. I got my happy face. Kool-Aid, false advertising. I don't drink Kool-Aid, but I'm gonna give you some of my Kool-Aid for you to sip on today. I got my girls back there behind the camera. They working it. You might hear a little bit of laughing and crying, giggling and stuff, all that. Yeah, they already starting. I already see it coming. And I'm hoping y'all don't be crunching on no chips while I'm down here talking about nutrition. Anyway, let's get it started. First thing I want to dispel is the myth that there is this such thing called a lean food. There's no such thing as lean foods. Look, let me tell you something. There's only lean eating. There's no such thing as lean foods. Do we understand? There's no such thing as lean foods. The only thing you can do is eat lean. So to explain what I'm talking about, I'm going to use this tray of poker chips or blackjack chips, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to say that this is your body. And it's very lean. You have no fat on that body. But now to get from breakfast to lunch to dinner, it takes $100 to get to each place, right? So in order for your car, which is your body, to leave from breakfast to get to lunch, you got to fill it up with $100. Okay? So if you fill it up with $100 and you get to lunch, you done burnt that $100 off, right? Now you're back to lean. The goal is to eat another $100 worth of food to get you to dinner. And by that time, you done burnt another $100 off and you're lean again. And you fill up with another $100 worth of food. And that takes you all the way through the night. You sleep through the night like a little baby. Come back to the top and you done ate your $100 again. So what you started the day before, you're back the next day, lean again, empty, okay? That's lean eating. This is the way most of us eat. You're already holding on to about $100 worth of food in there. And you decide for breakfast you're gonna eat another $100, even though you got all this money in there already. So here you go, and you get to lunch, and you done burnt that $100. But instead of leaning it out, you keep that 100 in there, and you just keep eating another 100. Okay? So now you might think you're eating for maintenance because you're eating what you're supposed to eat. You're eating $100 at every meal, but the problem is you're already holding on to $100, so that $100 ain't going nowhere. So here's what you got to do. What you got to do, and what we talked about last time, is putting yourself in a 25% deficit. 25% of 100 is $25. So if you're holding on to $100 in inventory already, instead of eating $100 worth, what you're going to do for breakfast is you're going to eat $75 worth. 3 chips. That'll take you to lunch. It still takes your body $100 to burn between breakfast and lunch. So what's going to happen is you're going to burn off the $75 you ate for breakfast, and you're going to dig into your inventory by $25. Now you're down to $75. And for lunch, you're going to eat another $75. And that's going to take you to dinner. You still burnt $100 in calories between dinner and lunch and dinner. So that's going to take this $75 away and cut into your inventory again by another $25. So that by the time you get back up to here, you're half the size you was the day before. Now it doesn't necessarily work out that easy, but that's the concept. So lean eating is all about proportion sizing and all about eating to a certain number and a certain configuration rather than eating certain types of foods. It's not necessarily the types of foods you eat, it's the amounts of food you eat. Now, certain foods are higher in fat and carbs or whatever. You can only eat so much of it to fit within your numbers, like we talked about last time. So let's talk about different ways to do it. Check out all the different foods I got on the table. This is stuff that I keep in my house, in my pantry. Some of the stuff I eat exclusively, some of the stuff my kids eat as well. And you know, this might be stuff that you normally see in your house. You got cereal, we got peanut butter. This right here is the fitness hidden treasure, hidden buried treasure. It's called animal crackers. We'll talk about how amazing that is in a minute. Wheat bread, I got some powders here. I got my chicken breast, fish, some brown rice tucked away back here. All this stuff is stuff that people would typically eat. some people might not consider this to be lean food. They might say, wait, where's your avocados? Where's your, where's your gluten-free? This gluten-free. Let me tell you something about gluten-free, okay? There's like a tiny, tiny percent of the population, like less than 1% of the population that actually has a problem with gluten foods. Gluten is in everything, okay? But all of a sudden, the world is on this gluten-free craze. Let me tell you something. You need to stop worrying about being gluten-free and start worrying about being glutton-free, okay? The definition of glutton is eating too damn much, okay? So stop worrying about gluten-free, stop worrying about being glutton-free, okay? Now, how do we be glutton-free? Well, if you recall last time, we talked about how many calories you should eat a day, right? What did we say? You take your scale weight and you figure out your body fat percentage, right? Once you figure out your body fat percentage with either a handheld device or with a measuring tape, you can go online, go to Google and type in US Navy body fat calculator, okay? And it'll tell you exactly how to calculate your body fat with a tape measure. Where to measure, put in the numbers, and you'll get a body fat. You take that body fat, you multiply it by your scale weight. So whatever your scale weight is, you subtract out your body fat percentage, okay? Once you have your lean body mass, you figure out that's how many grams of protein I need to eat a day. So between everything that I eat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and whatever snacks in between, I need to eat that many grams of protein a day. And this is part 1 and 2. In part 2, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. I just want to give you a little overview right now. So you add up all the proteins you have for the day. You make sure you eat, for my example, I'm 168 pounds at 11 point some body fat percentage. That puts me at about 149, 150 pound lean body mass. I need to eat 150 grams of protein a day. So for breakfast, I make sure I get 50 grams of protein. For lunch, I get 50 grams of protein. And for dinner, I get 50 grams of protein. As long as you proportion it out that way, that's eating lean. Now you could get that from boneless chicken breast or you can get it from Taco Bell. It really doesn't matter as long as you get your numbers. That's what matters. That's what's going to get you the body you want. That's what's going to get you to continue to get lean. Not necessarily just eating certain types of variety of foods. Okay? When people say, well, you know what, I'm just going to go vegan or this and that. I mean, good luck getting 150 grams of protein being a vegan. There are some vegan powders out there that can help you get there. But good luck. I'm just saying, really, it's really tough. I mean, the best sources of protein are fish, boneless chicken breast. Chicken breast is the most muscular part of the chicken. That's why, you don't get a lot of fat from it, and you get the pure protein power from the chicken breast. Fish, obviously, very low to zero amounts of fat, and it's all protein, okay? And if you don't think you can get big as a vegan, next time you go driving out in the pastures, where there's cows grazing, just take a look at how big those cows are, because all they eat is grass all day long. They ain't out there eating chicken, they ain't out there eating fish, they eat grass all day long. My point is, you eat too much of anything, you're gonna get big. It doesn't matter, okay? Before I get into the different foods, I done just dispelled the myth about eating and what lean food is. There's no such thing as lean food. That's myth number 1. There's only lean system of eating, and there's tools that we can use to make sure that we're lean in our way of eating. There's tablespoons, scale, most important thing. Let me talk about this scale, okay? Because I take the scale everywhere I go, and my kids laugh at me sometimes, my family laugh at me sometimes. Like, why are you sitting there weighing everything? Now I got to the point where they're used to just me weighing everything. If I don't weigh it, it's weird. But it's a culture thing. It's a culture thing. Like, it's so weird to weigh your food. Like, why do you do that? Let me explain something to you. When you go to the doctor and you come down with an illness, right? They're going to say, take 3 pills a day for the next 10 days, okay? Now, what if you went and told your doctor, let me just go ahead and take it all at once? What do you think he would say? What do you think he would say? You say, it's cool? All right, I'm going to give you 30 pills that I want you to take over the next 10 days, but yeah, go ahead and take it at once. I don't think that's going to happen. Number 1, your body can't process it all at once. That's why he gives it to you out like that. That's why you shouldn't just be eating big old chunks of food at one time. You should spread it out, okay? Same concept. Measure. When you get sick, you get the little cough, so you have to go get some Robitussin, or your stomach hurt, you got to get some Pepto-Bismol. What do? That's when we go looking for our little measuring spoon, and we make sure we get just the right amount, because we don't want to overdo it on cough syrup, even though it's like this much amount of liquid, right? We could drink a whole big old jug of beer, right? Or a whole pint, but when it comes to cough syrup, oh, you know what? You gotta make sure, you don't go overboard, and you sip on it. You're expecting a result out of that medicine. Now, I don't know your medical condition personally, but I'll bet the farm that I don't have that you eat more food than you do medicine. The little medicine you do use, you make sure you measure. But the food that you eat all day long that affects your body all day long, it's not worth measuring. See, that's what I'm saying. It's a culture thing. We have been indoctrinized as a culture not to believe that we need to measure our food. But that's why you get big, and that's why you get small, or that's why you get muscular, and that's why you get what I call skinny fat. There's people out there that are skinny fat. They're skinny, but they're fat. You know what I'm saying? Because you just don't measure. You just don't pay attention. And all you got to do is not necessarily change the things you eat, just change the portions, okay? I eat Cheetos sometimes, but I weigh it on my scale, and I make sure I'm eating the right amount of Cheetos so that I don't go over my numbers. If someone gives you a bag of Cheetos, you don't eat it. That's just the bottom line. That's just human nature. That's why you got to put it in a bowl, measure it, and eat the right amount so you don't go over, okay? So let me tell you something. I've been tracking my food now for over 3 months, and in that time, I've seen some amazing things, some amazing changes. I've dropped over 20 pounds, and over 13% of my body fat has been gone. Now, let me tell you something. When I was 192 pounds, I was at a 22% body fat. That equates to a lean body mass of 150 pounds. You feel me? 150 pounds lean. I'm now under 170, but at an 11% body fat, my lean body mass is still 150 pounds. So what that means is that I retained all of my muscle. I'm the same guy I was when I was 192 pounds. I'm the same muscular person I am at 168 pounds without the fat. That's why everybody thinks I look bigger. They don't believe me when I tell them what my scale weight is, because I didn't lose any of my muscle. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It is physiologically impossible for you to gain muscle while you are in a caloric deficit. Your body cannot produce muscle. You cannot produce protein. Synthesis does not occur at a rate that allows you to develop muscle when you're in a caloric deficit, because your body is too busy scrounging for energy. That's why it's pulling from your fat. So your muscle cannot grow. And that's especially good news for the ladies out there that are afraid to lift weights because they think they're going to look like a man. Look, don't give yourself that much credit, because that's my myth number 2. Don't think as a woman that lifting weights is going to make you look like a man. You physiologically cannot look like a man. You're a woman for a reason, okay? You don't produce the testosterone men do. You can't get these big old bulging muscles like guys do. And especially when you're in a caloric deficit, whether you're male or female, you cannot physically grow muscle. The best you can hope to do is keep the muscle. And let me explain why it's important to keep that muscle. If this is your muscle here, we're going to start at my chest level, okay? And this is your fat up here. The difference between your fat and your muscle is your body fat percentage, right? So the goal when cutting weight is to get the fat closer to the muscle so that you have more definition. You're keeping the same muscle, you're just cutting that fat down. What happens is when people go on these crazy low calorie diets, or they don't exercise, like they don't weight train, they just run and do cardio without any strength training. What happens is you lose weight, but your muscle and your fat both decrease until your muscle gets to a point where it's so tiny that your body is like, all right, I don't need to take any more muscle. Then the fat starts to come down. So in that sort of scheme, people will go through long periods of losing weight where their body fat is not changing because you're losing muscle and fat together. What you want to do is keep your muscle and just lose the fat. That's why I say get into a slight caloric deficit, 25%, no more, and slam some plates. That's it. That's really all you have to do. It sounds, I'm not trying to oversimplify it. It really is that simple. Get into a 25% caloric deficit, slam some weights. That's it. You do that, you get to hold your muscle, you get to cut your body fat, like what I did when I was 192 pounds. I kept all my muscle from when I was that size down to 168. I still have all my muscle. I haven't lost anything. One of the things you could do is benchmark. The 3 major lifts in weightlifting is to bench press, to squat, and to do deadlifts. So whatever weight you are now, however big you are now, do some squats, do some benches, do some deadlifts. Pick a weight and do it like 10 times. Let's say you can bench press 225 pounds 10 times. Make sure as you're cutting weight that you can continue to bench press 225 pounds 10 times. You don't want to lose strength. You want to lose fat. Big difference. You don't want to lose strength. You want to lose fat. So as long as you're still bench pressing 225 pounds 10 times as you're cutting weight, you know you're keeping all your muscle. And you're also checking your body fat percentage. You're also, as you're going, tracking to make sure that you're not losing muscle. Because if you are, that means you're losing weight too quickly. That means you're in too much of a caloric deficit and you're losing weight too quickly. Now, some of you may have been dieting for a long time. You've already been dieting for a long time. I had people ask me, like, I've been cutting for so long, like, I don't even know what to do anymore. I can't go anymore. Like, I think my body's done cutting. No, your body's not done cutting. What you need to do is do a hard reset on your body. You need to take about 2 weeks and just go back to your calculated daily caloric requirement, like we talked about in the last video, how to calculate that. Once you get that daily caloric requirement, eat that many calories every day for the next 2 weeks. Because what happens is when you go into a deficit for a long period of time, your body's metabolic rate actually decreases. And it actually adjusts to the lower food so that your food is being metabolized slower, at a slower rate. So your body basically got used to you eating less, and now you have to eat even less to get smaller. Don't do that because you don't want your body to be in a low metabolic rate. So here's what I recommend when you're cutting weight to lose fat. Every 3 days, you cut 25% off your calories for 3 days in a row. On the 4th day, I want you to eat 10% over what you're supposed to eat, as if you're bulking, right? 3 days at 25% under, and then that 4th day, eat like you're bulking. This allows your body to maintain its metabolic rate without having to drop its metabolic rate. So you can continue to burn, like we talked about earlier, you can continue to burn $100 every time you go from breakfast to lunch to dinner. You can continue to burn the same amount of calories, but you're just supplying it a little bit less so that it's slowly taking the weight off. Okay, that's the safest way to do it. It'll allow your skin to be tight with your body as you drop the fat. You're not going to look like crazy skinny because you're keeping your muscle, and that's exactly how it's got to go. You do that, my friends, I'm telling you, you're going to be amazed with the results. So I'm going to go into part 2 now. I'm going to talk to you about how you can actually use devices like your phone to track your calories, because it's good enough to say this is how much you got to eat. The second step is to actually implement and to figure out how to do it. So before I go into that, I just want to say, get familiar with different foods. Start to think in terms of nutrition. Start to think in terms of, all right, when you think of peanut butter, what do you think of? Okay, when I see peanut butter, I think of the fact that it has 16 grams of fat per 2 tablespoons. And why do I think of it in terms of fat? Because fat is the lowest number. That's only 20 to 30% of your calories. So in order to eat the right amount of foods, you go to your lowest number and make sure you stay within your fats, right? Because if you blow your fats out the water, then it doesn't matter about your carbohydrates and your fat and your proteins, because you don't blow your fat out the water. So you've got to eat the types of food that allow you to stay within the right amount of protein, the right amount of carbs, and the right amount of fats. All of the same calories. It sounds like a lot, but I'm telling you, when you start to learn how to do it, like on tracking on a phone, it's super simple. It's super easy. It's amazingly easy. You just got to do it. You just got to get up and do it. You got to know how important it is. Pick up a scale, a food scale. This will be the most important thing in your life. When you pick up a food scale, once you start using it, it's going to be like the iPhone or the Android phone that you're on right now watching this video. You're going to wonder how life existed before you had that phone. It's going to be like the internet. You're going to wonder how the heck we learned anything before the internet came around. That's how important that food scale is. We're going to talk about a couple of these different things. I want to get into the app. Check out part 2. Thanks for tuning in.